Hi, let me take this opportunity to talk to you about a concept in economy which is called M2 or Demmonitorization, or it's also known as the money supply in the country. That's a better way to look at it. M2 equals money supply in the country. Now, we are at the moment we had an economy where we had our interest rate, our inflation rising to 8.1% a year and a half ago, and successfully our central bank has managed to bring it down to around 3.1%, and I'm sure it will be going down over the next 6 months, not necessarily immediately, because in our CPI there's almost 29%, or let's say 1/3, is involved with the mortgage inflation. So basically what it means is, if we go back to the old mortgage rates, that is being wiped off, which means we are already at 2%. The reason why we are at 3.1 is primarily because our mortgage or housing expenses are high. So having told that, I thought it's very important to understand M2 supply, because this is what investors, people who are wealthy and who wants to see the value of their money and assets growing year on year will be looking at. So I'll be putting up this chart very soon, and the chart would show you the money supply in Canada from 1969. Probably I would have been about a 3-year-old child by then. 1969 to 2023. During that period, our total money circulation in the country and the money supply, or M2 at this point in time, is around close to 2.5 trillion. To be precise, it's about 2.470 trillion. Now, this value last year, this time, was 2,378,000,000, and then this increased over the last 1 year at 3.8 year-over-year increase. Now the question one has to ask is, we have increased the interest rates and we have made buying things expensive and control the economy, and we have brought the inflation down, fair enough. However, we have also increased the money supply primarily through money printing, because we run a deficit budget in the government, and we have done that to the effect of 3.8%. In my opinion, what it means is we are having a temporary solution for a long-term challenge or a long-term issue. Let me explain. When you look at this graph, you will see what I am trying to say. Let's assume you are a person who owns a home and it's a paid off home. Say you have a house for 1 million and it's paid off, and you have a paid off home totally. Now, from 1969 to today, the average increase of the M2 is around 8.1%. So our M2 is increasing by 8%, or in other words, our money supply is increasing by 8% every year, or it's called demonitorization. Our monetary value is declining by 8% on average for the since 1996. And in the same chart, the line in blue will show you the Toronto Real Estate Board, the house prices since 1969 to today. Now you see in this line, you will see both these are going parallel one to the other. One is increasing at 7%. Our Toronto Real Estate Board housing prices, the average for the since 1969 is 7%. And the average of the money supply increase is 8%. And we said, assume that you have a $1 million home. Let's say last year, if you had a $1 million home, your home value appreciated by 7%. However, the value of money declined by 8%, or the money supply increased by 8%, which meant your wealth dropped by 1%, which you and I would not realize unless we look at this. Now, then the question is, what do you do with this? Now, on the other hand, look at a person who would have owned a home with 20% down payment. When you have a 20% down payment, you have leveraged 5 times by borrowing from the bank 80% of the value. Now, his value increased only by 7%, but you got to multiply that by 5 because he had leveraged money. So his wealth grew by 35% while the money supply grew at 8%. So now he has 35 minus 8, that's almost 27% appreciation of his wealth. So this is a concept that we have to understand, and this is one of the reasons that most wealthy people who are homeowners would never want to have a paid off home. They would always refinance or do something and go for the second property and the third property and build generational wealth. Now, this scenario is even worse. If you closely look at this chart, you would see since COVID or since 2020 to now, the real estate appreciation was almost 27% in the last 3 years. On the other hand, the appreciation in the money supply or devaluation of the money was 32%. So we lost 32% value of money while we increased the property values by 27%. Now, look at the lines. When you look at the lines, you'll see one following the other in the same trend. This is a good example of explaining to you why things are getting expensive. Why things are getting expensive. Why houses are getting expensive. There are many reasons. We have a short supply. We have no land, buildable land. That's a different story. Apart from that, this is one of the things when we say, when we keep on increasing our M2 or the money supply, it is in parallel, our property prices keep increasing. So the reason I want to bring this out to you is because have confidence in Toronto real estate. Have confidence in Canadian real estate. Speak to experienced realtors. Speak to investors who invest in knowledge. Speak to investors who doesn't force you to buy, but encourage you to read and get knowledge, and speak to them and speak to the experts. By the way, I'm not an expert in finances or economy, but I got to speak to you and speak to the relevant people. Take it up, and if need be, give us a call, 647-283-1966. Riyaz Rauf, a household name. Wish you a very happy 2024 and beyond.
Household name: Riyaz Rauf, Rushdi Rauf.